Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and Mark Rosewater is back to answer your burning questions about Commander Legends. I honestly don't think he worked on it at all, but I also suspect that he's lying when he says he doesn't work on projects. He has his hand in everything at that company. I mean, this whole entire product was designed by Gavin Verhey from Gavin Verhey's perspective, but let's see Mark answer questions about it, I guess. So somebody asked him, what is the process to decide what old characters get new cards? And he says there is no formal process. I mean, I could have told you that. But get this, it's always suspected that they do this, but now we have actual proof. Okay, ready for this? Some of R&D interacts directly with the audience, and the rest is good about monitoring social media. So if you hype up a post or some fan art or whatever, or you tweet one tweet at them, direct to their staff Twitter, which has like 500 followers, and say, I want this on a card, they're like, well, I mean, if we're just going to pick one, I mean, this one person wants it. So you can drive it up artificially and influence it so hard. Like right now, if I told you, hey, everybody go find a staff member, find an R&D person, and tell them, oh man, I can't wait for a reprint of whatever. Just with the relatively small size of my channel, just the sheer number of people that would do it, which is probably like 20, that would look like the biggest trend in the history of the Magic community. And remember, they constantly block people, and they're only on far left leading platforms that everybody with a brain has abandoned. So if you're wondering where they get their bad ideas from, they just answered that question. So somebody asked, and this is a good question, are any of the Legends, legendary creatures featured in Commander Legends hidden previews for later sets, like Quain and Arkelos, for example? And he says, yeah, well, Kaya, we now know, which I'm shocked he's acknowledging this, are going to play a role in the main story, because remember, she was in Conspiracy Take the Crown, and it had, I guess, a little tiny bit of a storyline. Even Battle Bond, they had like 5 paragraphs. But, you're thinking, oh, well, that's a character from a side thing. And then, oh, now all of a sudden Kaya's going to be like basically the main character in Kaldheim, it looks like. So I guess he was asking, well, are there any other secret little, oh, they're going to be in the story, so we're introducing them now kinds of things, like, for example, Quain and Arkelos. And Mark Rosewater's answer is, I don't know, if I were to paraphrase it. And then he just gives examples of when they did it in the past. He's like, so, yeah, it's something we do, but I don't know. How did this make it into the article? Nobody wants to hear, I don't know, from like a really good question. And then the next one is how we are, as in we apostrophe R-E, how we're characters chosen for legendary creature cards when have a massive library of other popular characters to choose from, an example being Gix or Guff. So the exact same question as the first question. And Mark just gives some generic nonsense. Oh, different players are looking for different things and blah, blah, blah. Our goal is blah, blah, blah. Shut up. So far, this Q&A sucks. He usually does a pretty good job, but this is just terrible. You have got to be kidding me. The fourth question is, what prompted you to remake cards for some characters who already had some? Kamal, Akroma, Sakashima, etc. So in other words, how did you choose which characters go in the set for the third time? He does give a real answer. Like some of them, they didn't like the first edition. It wasn't very powerful, wasn't good, wasn't what they were going for, didn't really take off or whatever. So they wanted a second shot at it. And then just, generically, some players want to see a new version of characters they like. And then obviously the third one is we wanted to do a certain design type and this person would fit it. Oh, then it reveals that Kamal and Jessica are siblings. I think I already knew that. I think that was on one of his quizzes actually. Okay, question number 5 is, once again, if I were to paraphrase, how do you choose which characters are in the set? I mean, how many times are you going to answer the same damn question, Mark? He actually asked, why were Ashnod and Gix not in the set? So in other words, how do you choose which legendaries are in the set? The list of cool characters we could make legendary creatures / planeswalkers out of far exceeds the available slots we have to make them. Yeah, I knew that. Answer the question. And then sometimes they want to make new ones. The good thing is that Magic is a hungry monster. No, your stupid side products and the number you release per year is a hungry monster. And we're constantly making new sets and new legendary creatures. If enough players demand a particular character, it's only a matter of time before we make it. Squirrel Planeswalker, do it. Make it. What are you waiting for? The next question, how do you decide which characters? No, I'm just kidding. It's given the presence of box toppers in both Ikoria and Zendikar, why were they not considered for Commander Legends? Oh, I guarantee they were considered. So the better question would be, why didn't you actually end up doing it? Which is arguably the ideal place for thematic inclusions. And he answers, one of the odd things about making Magic sets is that they're not always made in the same order that they're released. And that would have been my guess. If I had to guess at the answer, I would have said this was finalized before they decided to do that, and then, oh well. So get this, Commander Legends was designed before Ikoria. Now we knew that because Ikoria was supposed to release 3 or 4 years from now, and they moved it way up, but also it was finished before Zendikar Rising. Now that's huge. Beyond that, Commander Legends was originally scheduled for an earlier release date, and it got pushed back. So by the time it was finalized, they weren't doing box toppers. It's just that simple. Kind of makes you wonder what they're sitting on right now. I mean, Conspiracy 3 is a given. People absolutely adored that set, and it's still to this day worth a lot of money. The next question, I'll be honest, I don't understand the question or the answer, so I'm skipping it. It has to do with Commander rules. I don't follow the rules, and neither do my group, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The next question is, are there plans to print more pre-mending Planeswalker in non-standard sets? Or in other words, how do you guys choose which characters go in each set? And his answers are simple. If we do something and players like it, odds are we'll make more. Let's see, who is pre-mending? Probably Nevin Nyril, maybe Tormod, a bunch of the Dominarian people, probably some dragons. So he's just like, yeah, if it works and people like it and buy it, then we do it again. He says, as I like to say in my blog, success breeds repetition. And then ironically, failure doesn't breed any kind of consequences at all, or a change in direction, or any accountability by anyone personally at Wizards, ever. Or at least not the higher ups. I heard that the low-level people get blamed for everything all the time, which is why the turnover is so ridiculous. Next up, we got somebody calling him out on another color pie violation. In their opinion, it's why was Hullbreacher, the big famous expensive blue card where he's breaking into the ship stealing their stuff, literally he's breaking a board off the ship to reach it and grab treasure, which that artwork's awesome. Anyway, it seems like it could be a white effect, so why was it a blue card? And it would have done a lot more good for white decks than blue decks. If you're not familiar, it's 3/2 for 3 Merfolk, which, there's reason number 1, with Flash. And then if an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token, which, yeah, that is absolute 100% a white effect. It's like classic law magic. Let's read the answer. The short answer is that Hullbreacher is a blue card because it's an effect in blue's slice of the pie. No, it isn't. Blue steals other people's draws, sometimes turning them into resources. That's white. That's law magic. The restriction, the whole 1 spell per turn, otherwise I'm going to penalize you, that's white. So he says white can text the draws or turn a personal draw into a draw for you and that player, or possibly all players, but it can't do what Hullbreacher is doing. I feel like he's wrong, but I also feel like it would take a long time to research some cards that contradict what he just said, so let's just assume he's wrong. So any effect that is normally in one color would be more beneficial in a second color that normally doesn't do it. That's not always true, but okay. A counterspell, for instance, would be much more useful to red than blue. Okay, that's the obvious one I was thinking of. But that doesn't mean that you should do it, basically, so whatever. I don't particularly agree with the exact specifics of what he said, but it's not like blue never does something like that. It's just that's a very white effect. Next up, this is interesting. Somebody says, do you think there's a disconnect between designing for white in a balanced way? Some people are frustrated with the cards we got when we were specifically told good white EDH cards would be in this set. There's a couple, but yeah, that's probably the weakest color in the set. Is there something players are missing with card assessment? No, when the entire community says one thing like, wow, this set has garbage white, then everybody's smarter than Wizards. We know this. The community collectively is infinitely smarter than anybody who works there. So he wrote an absolute book in response, so let's just burn through it real quick. I think the main issue is a misunderstanding what the problem is and how R&D is choosing to help solve it. Let's start with the problem. The Commander format was created as a fun casual Magic variant. It wasn't designed to be the main way people played the game, so we made decisions that maximized letting it be what it wanted to be. Those decisions majorly changed the dynamic of how the game plays out. The life total is different, the number of players is different, the strengths and various abilities are different. How players interact is different, but it was all played with the cards and a color pie that was not designed for the format. Yes, amen. I need to put that on a shirt and make it mandatory that every Magic player buy it and wear it because people don't get it. They don't get it. Magic the Gathering was not designed to be multiplayer. When you play it multiplayer, it is inherently broken. It was not designed to be fair and balanced for Commander. Like Red Rush, and then mix that with Commander, it doesn't work. So certain things and aspects on the color pie do and don't work in Commander compared to any other format. And remember, all of these cards are legal in Legacy and Vintage. Like Blue Control, I mean, if you're going to try and counterspell stuff while you do something and just barely get to 20, that does commonly work. That's how Blue is designed. Doesn't really work in Commander because you have to effectively hold them off twice as long, which is harder to do. He even says, what if we just came up with a new format called Rush and every player starts with 10 life? Gee, I wonder if red would be completely broken. And then he goes on to actually say white would be pretty good in that format. I mean, I guess life gain and competent, fighters. But blue would just be pointless. I don't know. I mean, not necessarily. I guess the philosophy of blue is you stop their most powerful stuff. They wouldn't even get there if you're at 10. It would just be 1-2 drops and that's it. So you wouldn't be able to counter everything. Something would get through and blue would just suffer, and blue's creatures cost too much or too slow and too weak. I guess that's what he was getting at. So as Commander has become more popular, we've had to come to terms with how to adapt the color pie to help it in Commander. The good news is the color pie is constantly evolving. No, that's the bad news. That's actually what you screwed up in the last couple standard sets, but that's a different topic. However, the key to doing this correctly is to find ways to change a color that play into its core philosophy. A good example in how we handled red in dealing with Commander was that red needed to draw more cards. So we created Impulsive Draw, which is exiling cards that you can cast from exile for the turn. Actually, quite a few cards they've done lately do that. A way for red to get cards that was in flavor for red. Hell yeah, what's that? Lava something, not Lava Claws. I don't remember. No, it's like volcanic something. I don't know. It's one of my favorite cards from like 4 years ago. But a good example. Oh no, I already read that. We explored new space to solve the problem in an organically red way. That's what we're currently up to in white. White is just like the mid-range, middle speed, remove stuff, get out of my way, and combat superiority color. So I don't see how you really have to tweak that for Commander, to be honest. So it's going to be interesting for him to explain what he thinks they did in this set, besides print a bunch of weak crap. So he says, I need to stress two things. First, we changed this slowly and carefully. They aren't careful about anything they do ever, so that's not true. When we want to try out something new, we tend to use it on a weaker spell to gauge how it plays and then strengthen it over time. Okay, you do a weak one when you really intended to do a strong one, nobody's going to play it because it's weak. So that's not a good way to test it. We don't want to change our mind about something only to have a pushed version of it forever living in eternal formats. Yeah, well, then why do you design standard so poorly and just push everything and then it's just, oh, look, Oko, oops. Oh, look, Scoot Swarm. Oops. Just proof that they give more of a crap and more effort about Commander than they ever will for Standard. Also, I mean, he's not going to say it, but they aren't in charge of the ban list. They're the puppet masters who control the people who just don't want to get kicked out of their job as the Commander Rules Committee because they love insider trading, allegedly, and anti-consumer ban decisions, but because the ban decisions are completely fake and self-serving, yeah, if you print something broken, they're probably not going to get rid of it. But then again, Jeweled Lotus. So that kind of undercuts everything he just said. So he says, Commander uses almost all the cards. That's a lot of inertia to fight against. Even when we make good white cards, they have to fight against an existing environment that's weighted against them. Yeah, so, I mean, power creep. I mean, just look at, you used to have one commander, and now you can have two. That's like the mathematical definition of power creep. Just changing the rules, the fundamental rules of the game by printing something new, and then, well, why would I not want to have two commanders? Literally start the game with 9 cards. Okay. So yeah, if they want to compete with the other 30-ish thousand cards that were printed that are legal, they're going to have to push the power level higher than anything that's ever been printed or people won't touch the card. So at least he's admitting it. However, he does say what this means is that changes take time and effort. We went through this with red and over time managed to see marked improvements. White has proven a little more difficult. Its strengths are less useful in Commander. Yeah, I mean, life gain when you start at 40 is like whatever, but on the other hand, Celestial Mantle or whatever, every time this creature hits, double your life total, which actually benefits from it. There's another one that just says get to 40 and win. Yeah, there's examples. Anyway, its strengths are less useful in Commander, its weaknesses are greater vulnerabilities in Commander, so it's a bigger challenge to solve. But I can promise you that we're working on the problem and have been for some time. We're finding possible solutions, but they're going to be things we ramp into slowly, and even when we're comfortable making more powerful versions of those effects, the inertia of fighting against established colors in an eternal format will take some time. Yeah, as if they step in cautiously and don't just, we're doing partner commanders, you can have 2 now. Like, just wrecking ball right into the format. As if they don't do that. Yeah, they're so cautious and gradually ramp things up. Anyway, this isn't a problem that's just going to be solved in one set. So in other words, his general philosophy about why white sucked so badly in the set is because, well, they're slowly trying to fix it and they didn't get it done for the Commander set. I have a suggestion. Work faster. Oh, and don't let us be the beta testers in a final, release product. Let your playtesting department see if it's good and then take their advice. Or, have a competent playtesting department. Another person just basically asked, why were there not 4-color things in this set? I already know what the answer is. It's such a dumb question. He says, Commander Legends is a Commander draft set. That means we had to prioritize making draft work. Exactly. That is exactly what my guess was. If you just let people do 4 out of 5 best of, everybody would just grab best of, and whatever they get past, it's pure luck. 100% luck, no draft skill whatsoever. If you do 4-color, in theory, there's 80%, but really with colorless and combinations and stuff, there's above 80% chance that any given card you get past is acceptable for your deck. So everyone would just be, well, this is clearly the best card. This is the best card. This is the best card. There'd be no, thought into what to draft at all, to an extent. And it would just be a disaster. So yeah, I'm glad he pointed that out. I mean, it seemed pretty obvious to me. He even says that during the initial design, or Vision design, which is initial design, there weren't even 3-color cards in the set because they were so hard to play with. I think you meant to say too easy to play with in draft, but okay. And then he says, set design added them, which means Vision design had one idea and set design had another idea, and then one overruled the other, and they have drastically different goals. If you're ever wondering why some products and some decisions go completely off the rails, there's the example. But yeah, they added them because they felt that a Commander set wanted some legendary creatures with more colors and worked hard to create a draft environment that could support them, or just nobody drafts them in their dummy cards and you just leave them in there for money reasons so that Commander people buy them, because most people buying packs, I'd say probably 95% of packs that get bought and opened are not being drafted. It's probably 97, 98% to be honest. So what set design probably realized is catering to 2% of people is idiotic, and they're throwing some 3-colors because people don't just play 2-color Commander decks. Is this a good time to mention that 4 of these questions are from the same person? And I mean, I'm sure it's a coincidence, but he's wearing a gay pride flag sombrero, which is simultaneously, I guess, woke signaling while also being cultural appropriation, while also being generally offensive to basically everyone, Mexican and otherwise. I'm sure it's a coincidence. I mean, Wizards doesn't only listen to complete nutjob liberals virtue signaling and making everything about race and gender and orientation on Twitter. I mean, that's not what they do. Anyway, question number, I don't even know at this point, from this guy, says, did Krark, so the card Krark, ever care about, in other words, initially have designed, coin flips and dice rolls? Because that's what he does. That's everything about Krark is coin flips and dice rolls. And Mark says, no, I don't believe he ever did. Does anybody working at that company know what Krark does in the game? That's his thing. Literally, when I saw the spoilers, I'm like, Krark. I'm like, oh, here comes some coin flip crap. And then I was like, what? Who's this? This isn't Krark. So he does point out that die rolling is strictly a silver bordered thing, which is patently false. Black bordered cards be like, this happens to a player at random. This, you make them discard a card at random. Choose a card at random. Destroy a permanent at random. How do you think you're gonna just, you're just gonna reach out, you're gonna have them put them in a pile and you just kind of, pull them out of a hat? I realize now those two statements don't work together. No, die rolling is not strictly silver bordered. That's idiotic to say that. And it would be odd to reference something on a black bordered card that doesn't appear on any other black bordered cards, except for all the black bordered cards that it does. Personally, if this were my set, I would have tried. Once again, I totally worked on it. I'm going to answer all the questions about it, but also I didn't work on it. It's not my set. Typical doublespeak coming out of Mark where, you know, when something bad happens, it's not my set. And when something good happens, oh yeah, I worked on that. I did that. I designed that card. And I just finally figured out what he's saying here. He says, personally, if this were my set, I would have tried. But then I also made Future Sight, which did this in spades. And then he puts his reminder, what's a contraption? What he means to say is he referenced on a black bordered card contraptions, and then contraptions were put in silver bordered. So he put a silver bordered effect on a black card. Except he didn't, because he didn't know contraptions would be silver bordered. Like, what even is this answer? It's just one lie and then another lie, and that's it. Oh, God. Mark just needs to be fired. Seriously. Next question from literally the exact same person. Why does Tevish, a character famous for betraying his teammates, have partner? More of a roast at this point than an actual Q&A, but he says, oh, if you're known for backstabbing teammates, then you're known for basically having teammates to backstab. Well, then he says, do note that the whole betrayal thing is built into the card's design. Yeah, dumbass. Now don't you feel silly? Also wearing an LGBT sombrero. Next up, we've got a beyond idiotic question from the same person, Captain Hat Guy here. How did you determine which new cards got partner and which did not? Okay, everybody stop right now before I read the answer. What is the answer to that question? This is now a quiz show. How did they, clear as day, determine, like, what is the pattern here? How did they determine which new cards got partner and which ones didn't? I know some of you might not have caught on, but I just about jumped out of my chair when I read this. Okay, Helen Keller, you want to know a secret? All the partner cards are monocolored. None of the multicolored ones have partner. Finally, moving on to somebody a little bit more perceptive, we've got, for a set all about Commander, singular, why partners? I personally never really cared for them. You can already tell this person's smarter. The answer is we needed it to make the set work for draft. I knew he was going to say that. And that was the key identity of the product. See the answer to the next question for why. The next question is, what was the thought process in choosing to make new partner commanders as opposed to reprinting the fetchlands for color fixing? How is that you do one thing or the other? They could do both, they could do neither. What kind of question is that? So the actual answer that Mark doesn't want to say is power creep. If you could start the game with 2 commanders and everybody else is starting with 1, you're going to feel pressured into buying the new crap we just designed, because we're literally selling you a pay-to-win advantage over your friends. And also they needed it to make draft work, obviously. I mean, the thing is, though, it wouldn't have worked except for the fact that you have to remember those packs, the draftable packs, had partners in all of them, I think. Or like if one was there, the other was there or something like, I don't remember exactly how they were, but something like that. So if you pulled one partner, you get another partner. And I think usually it was like from a pool of partners that work well together or something. I don't quite remember, but like you had a double shot at it per pack no matter what. And then you get 2 pulls from the opening of every pack, I think, or at least the first pack. So like they worked around it. It's not that they made this for draft. They tweaked how the draft worked and how the packs were arranged to work for the draft. So that's what he said is not entirely true. They just kind of made it work. And the reason they took something that wouldn't normally work and then just kind of bent it to make it work is because power creep, and they wanted to sell more powerful cards and effects to more commander players. So once again, I think my answer is a little bit more valid, which is why I make these videos. Leave a like on the video if you agree. And honestly, if you made it this far into the video, like, why not sub? Like, you're like 22 minutes into the video. Like, clearly you're watching my content. Just hit the damn sub button. So anyway, why did you put in new partner commanders instead of adding fetchlands? Because apparently those are mutually exclusive options. And from the first line of his answer, I finally kind of get what this person was asking. He said, fetchlands don't solve the problem that partner is fixing. So it's like, oh, I get it. You would draft the fetchland, and then the fetchland allows you to like access more colors at a time or something. I don't know. Like having partners doesn't color fix your mana base. And then like, what if you want to run a 2-color or a 3-color commander because partners now doesn't exist in the set, and you print a fetchlands instead, and one half of the fetchland is applicable to your commander's colors and one half isn't? Well, then that's just a basic land that does damage to you that you'd want a money draft. I mean, that's really the question and the answer are both crap at this point. So he does go on to say partners aren't in the set to fix colors. That's true. They color fix the draft. They don't color fix your mana base. I mean, duh. Like, I can't believe he had to explain that to the person. They're there to allow you to evolve draft colors over time. I mean, he goes on to explain it, but like, I already did. We get this. Then we get Tolarian asking, now that we have Commander Legends, which is just coincidentally what they named it, can we also expect Commander Antiquities and Commander Homelands in the upcoming years? Ha ha ha, funny pun, because there was a set called Legends, which is not what this product was. And we all know that. I hope his fallback position isn't comedian. But Mark, of course, is just, he's got a zinger to fire back at him. I'm looking forward to Commander 2014, which, as we all know, would just be Commander Anthology, heavily featuring Commander 2014. So that, I mean, yeah, I take everything really literally. Like, I get it, it was a joke, but it was so not funny that I felt the need to explain why that's so stupid. Not to mention factually incorrect. If you thought either of those, the question or the answer, were funny, more power to you, but that was just some 1 out of 10 comedy right there. This next question, I don't get this. Why was Vampiric Tutor reprinted but not the others? Like, what? I mean, Demonic Tutor? Is this like a full cycle or something? Like, did I just never realize that Vampiric Tutor was part of a cycle? It probably was. I don't know. He says, while we occasionally reprint cycles, oh my god, it was. It's not something we consider mandatory. It's okay to take one card from a cycle and reprint just that card. Let me translate that. It was the big money card to drive up the EV and to make it more seem like gambling that we can push on children. Gotta have the high jackpot. We already put in one high jackpot. Why would we put in, I guess, 4 others? I don't even know what the 4 others are. I think I named one of them. I mean, is Diabolic Tutor in there? Is it even a cycle if they just have the word tutor in them and they're the same but for different mana costs and weren't printed at the same time? Okay, fine. They forced me to it. I'm going to Google it. I found a forum post where somebody asks, were they part of a cycle? And everybody says no. Fantastic. The initial proposition was that it was Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Worldly Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and it was a cycle of 4 cards. I'm only counting 4 here. I don't know. You know what? I don't care. I didn't play back then, and I haven't played Commander in years. So the actual answer is who gives a shit? Next up, we've got, why were there no legendary lands in this set? Right? Like, what do we need? We need Nykthos. When do we need it? Now. I guess I just started a protest, apparently, accidentally. Everybody go burn down your local McDonald's because we need Nykthos. That was a joke, by the way. Everybody knows it's only morally justified to burn down a black-owned business like a McDonald's in a black-owned neighborhood if you're a white person who just got out of college being offended on behalf of black people. Oh, this video is getting way too real now. So the short answer, he says, is that R&D doesn't like how legendary lands play. I don't give a shit. This is a reprint set. It's a glorified master set. Give me my damn Nykthos, you jackass. So R&D doesn't like how legendary lands play. They combine poorly with the legendary rule. Okay. Commander is a singleton format. You can't have 2 in the same deck. Unless that's what he's saying, like, well, you get one and then you can't play the land because you'll eliminate one of your other lands, and now what do? Now you pull the land, but you can't use it. You're short on it. So then he doesn't explain it all. He goes on to say, we occasionally do them for strong story reasons, but we avoid them when we can. Our flavor rationale is that you can get multiple ley lines out of a single place? What? Now he's talking about color fixing, but matching the flavor and the lore? Like, what? He went so far off a cliff on this one, I don't even know what any word of this is supposed to mean. Not one coherent point can be pulled from this answer whatsoever. So let me just take his whole bullshit circular nothing that means nothing and makes no sense. Just let's toss that all out. Okay, here's the actual answer. Why were there no legendary lands in the set? We already added enough money in reprints. We didn't want to push the EV any higher when we knew that it would already be kind of short to go around because of production issues from COVID. The box EV, the expected return, the value, the average value of the card's total, average cumulative, average, whatever, per pack, was high enough, and we didn't need to put any more money in it. So screw you if Nykthos is currently sitting at $15-20. We don't care, not our problem. The set had enough money in it, so we didn't add more. Do you like that answer? Is a little more realistic than we don't like how legendary lands play because of the legendary rule. In a singleton format where it's impossible to have more than one show up unless you, clone them, or I guess in a draft. I think the singleton rule goes out the window for the draft, right? I'm pretty sure. The next question is, and I quote, this tweet is unavailable. That's right, they're directly embedding the tweets instead of using screenshots because apparently Mark Rosewater is yet to locate the print screen button on his keyboard. Full disclosure, they tend to use Macs at Wizards of the Coast. Because of course they do, it's Seattle. You ever wonder why they had to take so much money out of the paper budget and they had that curling garbage for 3 or 4 years and then they finally went back to the normal quality paper? Yeah, it's because their IT budget was needlessly triple because they bought a bunch of overpriced, Apple shit so they could pat themselves on the back and feel elitist. Plus, I mean, they're all old. They're all in their 40s and 50s that work there. I wouldn't be surprised if they still think like back in 2006 where, oh, if you're doing media editing, you got to have a Mac. That ended with CUDA, okay? The CUDA plugins for Adobe products, it was over for them, okay? You'd have to be some kind of idiot if you edit audio, video, or photos on a Mac right now instead of a much more capable, faster, cheaper PC. You'd have to be out of your damn mind. A lot of tangents in this video, but I've got a lot of opinions. And by opinions, I mean facts. So anyway, this is the last question, if you could call it that. It's less of a question and more of a meta question, and the meta question is, what was the question? So it's basically Jeopardy, but let's try to guess the question from the answer, and you have to answer in what is format. So the answer is, they just don't make sense at common for 2 reasons. 1, common is the place where you get multiples of the same creature in limited, and that didn't mesh with the legendary rule. 2, it's a flavorful fail. Our rule for Pauper is that we make cards common because they belong at common and don't force commonality just for Pauper. Really, they downshifted some ultra power cards from uncommon to common, so that's clearly not true. The whole point of the format is that it makes use of things that naturally appear at common. Commander Legends did allow us to print some things at common that don't normally appear at common because they made sense in this limited format, but that just didn't include legendary cards. So I guess the question was, why didn't you print legendary cards in that were the common rarity? Yeah, I agree with Mark's paraphrased answer, which if I were to paraphrase it is because that would be stupid. Why would we do that? Legendary creatures and stuff are legendary for a reason, not just their uniqueness. It's not just, oh, look at this albino deer and then it's a vanilla 2/2 marked as a legendary, which I know I'm literally almost naming something from Kamigawa. A vanilla legendary white colored lion or tiger, was it? But sparing that, they're supposed to be powerful. More powerful cards are at higher rarities. Why the hell would they put it at common? That's stupid. Shut up. You're dumb. No wonder you deleted your tweet, you dumbass. All right, and that's the end of the Q&A. So, I think my little additional background information added to Mark Rosewater's bullshit really is a benefit to the community here. Gets him more on the right path towards truth. And it was just delusional or bold-faced lies for about a third of it. So, welcome to Mark Rosewater trying to justify half the dumb shit they did. And tried to cover for their stupid, selfish, greedy decisions. Because almost every time he just blatantly lied to people, it had to do with like a greedy aspect of the product or a blatant cash grab or a blatant, cash grab in the form of a pushed power level or a ramped up, arms race, basically. Not surprised that he'd try and cover for the company and try and, convince us all that it's raining when he's really just, throwing water in our face. That's the more polite version of that saying. So, hey, if you enjoyed this video, leave a big old like on it. And don't forget to subscribe. I really could use some more subs on this replacement channel. And we're only a couple days away from me verifying that my main channel did not this time get hit by the wonderful bug, which they didn't send out an announcement, an apology. They didn't correct it. They didn't pay me back. They're just going to brush it under the rug, take a couple $1,000s from me, and never give it back and pretend like it never happened. Awesome. Thanks, YouTube. F*** you too. Merry Christmas, you f***ing thieves. I'm going to jump on the first class action lawsuit I see involving this. Speaking of that, go watch my other face reveal video. It needs more views. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next video.